Hey, so there's a topic that gets kind of controversial. Um, and like any controversial, we all have our opinions. And so I just wanted to share mine real quick about titles in the body of Christ. Um, they're interesting because there are some titles that people seem to have no problem with people using. Minister, preacher, um, I don't know, just there's certain ones that people don't have a problem with. And then there are ones where if you use it, people will make fun of you or think that there's something wrong with you or be like, how dare you? Um, so it's a little weird. Um, but I just want to defend titles real quick. Um, just because you have a title does not mean you're coming from an arrogant place. Also, a title does not make you better than anybody because we all probably have titles in the kingdom, things that we're called to and could be identified by. Um, if somebody had a doctorate degree, they're a doctor. And it would be appropriate for people to call them a doctor. Now, not everybody would. Their spouse probably doesn't call them doctor, their kids probably don't. Um, but some people would. And it would be a way for them to identify what they do. Um, And so I don't necessarily think that identifying yourself as a title to certain people um, is a bad thing or a weird thing. In fact, it's odd because in the Bible they called themselves by what they were. Um, they were apostles and prophets and evangelists and all this, and that's another one that people don't seem to have too much of a problem with, is evangelist. But anyway, I think the problem is whenever we think that these titles represent a vertical line, and really it's a horizontal line. We're all, servants. We're all children of God. We're all brothers and sisters to Christ if you're in the body, right? And so titles are really job identifiers. It is not a ladder, right? Um, and like, I'm a mom. Now, that is to me a title that I carry. I'm a mom. And I don't expect people watching this to call me mom. But I might tell them I'm a mom to give them an idea of what I do and who I am and how I function as a human being. My kids will call me mom. People I'm an authority over, my children, will call me mom. Um, and so, but that title doesn't make me better than anybody else. It doesn't make me better than somebody that's not a mom, you know? And in fact, I remember sitting in a church service before I ever had kids. And the pastor said, it was Mother's Day, and he said, Happy Mother's Day to the moms, to the grandmas. And he said, and to those who uh, are called to be mothers but aren't yet mothers or don't have children here with them. Basically the women who wanted to have kids but couldn't or didn't at that time. And my husband at the time looked over at me because he knew I wanted kids really bad. And he was not willing to give them to me at that point in time. Um, and I was starting to cry because somebody had recognized a calling on my life, a title I knew I was destined to be, a function I knew that I was meant to be in and called to, and I identified with it so strongly, even though I wasn't there yet. And so sometimes I think people identify with their callings that they know they're called to very, very strongly. And whenever they're admonished for it or rebuked for it, it can really hurt them more than help. Um, Now, I didn't have kids at the time, so I did not expect anybody to call me mom. I did not. And I think that if you're not functioning in the thing God has called you to, you can't really expect people to call you that. Um, you can't really expect people to call you pastor if you're not pastoring a church. You know what I mean? Um, and so keep that in mind. And also, motive of why you want to be called that title. Is it to just simply give people an idea of what you do and, you know, your function in the body? Or is it because you're seeing it as like a vertical line instead of a horizontal line, or you see some kind of take some kind of pride in that or something. Just examining our own hearts is always a good idea. Um, so I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I had to say. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Um, so if you have a function in the body or a quote unquote title, um, you can't expect everybody to call you that, first of all. But also, I think people should be more willing to um, accept titles and not think that they're arrogant or weird or wrong, um, and look at them as just basically a job description within the body. And yeah, just always know our own motives and heart and have evidence for why you feel you should be called that or that you feel that's your title.